Today let us discuss about another topic, movement of materials across the cell membrane. In previous class we studied about cell is the basic unit of life and the cell contains so many organelles with their respective function. And during that we also studied about the cell membrane or plasma membrane. The cell is bound with a very specialized membrane called cell membrane or plasma membrane. And this cell membrane or plasma membrane is made up of proteins and lipids. We already know the materials will enter in and out through this cell membrane. This cell membrane allows so many substances to pass into it and also send many substances out of the cell. Let us discuss what are the substances that move into the cell that come out of the cell. The first and foremost substance is oxygen. Oxygen enters the cell. Oxygen is needed for the energy production. So oxygen must and should go into each and every cell for the production of energy. Now coming to the glucose. Glucose also needed for cell to produce energy. So majority time glucose will enter into the cell. Sometimes the glucose may be sent out of the cell. Now coming to the fats. Fats cannot be directly absorbed by the cells. Fat should be in a simpler form called fatty acids. Then only they can enter into the cell. So fatty acids will enter into the cell. Sometimes fatty acid may also come out of the cell. Coming to the proteins. Proteins are also cannot enter through the cell. Protein should be in a very simple form called amino acids. Only amino acids can enter into the cell. Majority of our digestive enzymes, hormones, all these are made up of proteins. So that's why proteins will exist from the cell. Proteins may enter into the cell and proteins may exit out of the cell in the form of hormones, enzymes and juices. Now coming to the vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals are also needed to the cell. So they enter into the cell. Sometimes excess of minerals and nutrients may also go out of the cell and be excreted in the form of urine. So whatever needed only will enter and remaining will be excreted. Now coming to the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide definitely exit out of the cell because accumulation of carbon dioxide in the cell will become toxic and sometimes it may lead to the death of the cell. So carbon dioxide must and should be eliminated or sent out from the cell. Now coming to the waste. During metabolism, so many nitrogenous waste materials are formed inside the cell. During respiration or any other metabolic activity, all these waste should be sent out in the form of urine. So waste also will exit out of the cell. Now coming to the water. Water, sometimes whenever the cell needed, water will enter into the cell, and whenever there is excess amount of water in the cell, the water will be also sent out of the cell to make an ionic balance. Ionic balance means the amount of water and ion should be balanced in the cell. There should not be more, there should not be less. So that is called ionic balance. To maintain the ionic balance, the water may enter, the water may exit. When you observe, this cell membrane is not blindly allowing all the substances to enter. There is a lot of traffic. Glucose, fatty acids, proteins may be entering, water coming down, carbon dioxide entering. There is lot of traffic. Blindly, this cell membrane is not allowing all the materials to enter. This membrane selects only certain substances to pass through them. Such membrane, we call it as selectively permeable membrane. Only certain things like oxygen it is allowing, water it is allowing, glucose it is allowing, but carbon dioxide waste material it is sending out. It selects certain substances to pass through them. Such membrane we call it as selectively permeable membranes. All the cell membranes are selectively permeable membranes. Cell membranes are also called as plasma membrane. What is that wonderful mechanism? How the substances are entering, how the substances are exit. There is a wonderful mechanism how the movement of material takes across the cell membrane. That wonderful mechanism we call it as osmosis. What we call it? Osmosis. So before talking about osmosis, let us learn about two topics called solution and saturated solution. You already know what is meant by solution in the lower classes. Solvent plus solute, we call it as solution. Solvent may be liquid, solute may be solid. For example, you take sugar solution. Water how to make a sugar solution? We take a glass of water, we add some spoons of sugar and we stir it. We get a sugar solution. Here water is act as a solvent and sugar act as a solute. This whole process, the whole substance, we call it as solution. Now we discuss about a saturated solution. Let us discuss what is meant by saturated solution. Before going to the saturated solution, we should get familiar with a word called concentration. Concentration is related to saturation. First, for knowing the concentration, first we need 3 beakers. You name them beakers or test tubes. You name them A, B, C. In first test tube, you add half spoon of sugar. In the second test tube, you add 1 spoon of sugar. In the test tube C, you add 1½ spoon of sugars. Now you stir it. And in which test tube has more concentration? Test tube C. Why? Because we have added 1½ spoon of sugar in the test tube C. More the solute, more the concentration. A has less concentration compared to B. B has less concentration compared to C. C has more concentration. A is less than B, B is less than C. So which test tube among all these 3 has more concentration? Test tube C, because it contains more amount of solute. More the solute, more the concentration. So you have understood about concentration, all of you, I hope, children. In the test tube A, only half spoon we added. In the test tube B, we have added 1 spoon of sugar. In test tube C, 1½ spoon of sugar. So in which test tube we added more amount of sugar is C. More the solute, more the concentration. So C is having more concentration. So now let us go back to osmosis and we'll see what is meant by, you understood now what is meant by concentrated solution. Let us discuss about, before going to osmosis, we discuss about saturated solution. See, take a beaker, fill the beaker with water. First you add 1 spoon of sugar, you stir it, that spoon of sugar get dissolved. Again you add another spoon of sugar, let it dissolve. Like that you go on adding sugar, a spoon or 1, 2, 3 spoon like that. After some time, you observe that certain sugar molecules or sugar crystals will be settled down and even after stirring they will not dissolve. Such a solution we call it as saturated solution. What we call it as saturated solution. First you add 1 spoon, you stir it, it get dissolved. Again you add another spoon, it get dissolved. After some time, the sugar molecules get settled down. Even after stirring, they cannot dissolve. Such a type of solution, we call it as saturated solution. So to understand the process or the mechanism of osmosis, osmosis is a word derived from a Greek language which means pushing. Osmosis means what? Pushing. Pushing the water. Pushing the water. The definition for the osmosis is movement of water molecules from low concentration to high concentration through selectively permeable membrane. The water molecules move from low concentration to the high concentration through a selectively permeable membrane. We call it as osmosis. All the cell membranes are selectively permeable membranes. You take potato cell, you take onion cell, you take animal cell, whatever the cell it may be, all the cell membranes are selectively permeable. Selectively permeable. To understand what is meant by osmosis, we have to conduct a small activity. The name of the activity is potato osmometer. For this activity, you need certain materials. First one is raw potato, a petri dish, and trough, water, pin, knife. You know vegetable carving. So you take a potato, peel the potato, and make a potato in the form of cup. That is called vegetable carving. So you make a potato in the form of cup. You take a petri dish or trough or anything. Fill this dish with a water. A petri dish or trough with a water. Now take a saturated solution, saturated sugar solution, and fill that saturated sugar solution in this cup of potato. But don't fill it up to the edge. You leave some space. You mark the level of the sugar solution with the help of a pin. Now keep this potato in a trough of water. Now here the water is in low concentration and sugar solution is in high concentration. So the water moves from trough into the potato cup through osmosis. The water is pushed from low concentration to high concentration through selectively permeable membrane. This potato cells are also covered with a cell membrane, which is a very selectively permeable membrane. Here children, water is moving into the potato cup. The sugar solution is not coming into the trough of water. Why? Because this cell membrane acts as a selectively permeable membrane. It allows only water to go inside. It does not allow the sugar solution to come into the trough or into the beaker. This process is called osmosis. Osmosis means movement of water from low concentration to high concentration through selectively permeable membrane. After some time, when you observe that the level of the sugar solution will rise. How this level of the sugar solution has been raised? Because the water which is in the trough has moved from low concentration to the high concentration. Here the sugar solution is in saturated or high concentration, so the water moves and the level of the sugar solution increased. First we have kept a mark with the help of a pen and the level has been increased. The whole process is called osmosis. So osmosis takes place in all the living cells. Osmosis does not occur in dead cells. Osmosis is seen only in the living cells. And this osmosis helps for the movement of substances from one cell to another cell. All our biological activities takes place with the help of osmosis. Thank you children. Tomorrow we are going to discuss about another activity, filtration.